AITA for buying my daughter a car but refusing to buy luxury vehicles for my girlfriend's kids? When my daughter turned 16, she had one simple wish, a little car. Nothing fancy, just a reliable Honda or Toyota that's good on gas. I'm not made of money, but I love her to pieces, and we set a budget of $3,000. The deal was simple: if she wanted something more extravagant, she'd have to save up and cover the difference herself. Fair, right? Everything was fine until my girlfriend's two kids caught wind of the plan. Suddenly, it was like I'd kicked a hornet's nest. The demands started flying in like stray bullets in a Tarantino movie. Her son, an 18-year-old who doesn't even have his license yet, had the audacity to request a BMW i8. A car that costs more than my first house. Meanwhile, her 16-year-old daughter decided she needed a brand new truck. Not just any truck, one loaded with all the bells and whistles, the kind that'd make a country singer's music video. When I told them, calmly and rationally, that they needed to take it up with their mom and dad, all H broke loose. My girlfriend's face went redder than a lobster in a boiling pot. Her son stomped off, yelling something about how I was favoring my kid, while her daughter glared at me like I'd just insulted her entire lineage. Then came the real kicker: their dad. This man, who has contributed a grand total of $0 to my life or theirs in the 2.5 years I've been dating their mom, called me up to chew me out. "Why are you buying a car for your kid and not mine?" he demanded, as though I owed him a single thing. "Because she's my kid," I shot back. "If you've got a problem, maybe you should buy them the cars they want." Apparently, that was the wrong thing to say because now he's furious, my girlfriend's furious, and even her sister and brother-in-law have decided to throw their hats into the ring. According to them, I'm an A for treating her kids differently. Let me ask you this: how am I supposed to treat kids that aren't mine the same as my own flesh and blood? I'm not their stepdad. Hell, I'm not even married to their mom. We've been dating for 2.5 years, not exactly a lifetime commitment. And let's not forget the sheer lunacy of their requests. A BMW i8? A new truck? I'm a hard-working man, not a lottery winner. The craziest part? My girlfriend isn't backing me up. Instead, she's acting like I've committed some cardinal sin. "You're setting a bad example," she said, crossing her arms like some self-righteous judge. "You're showing them they don't matter as much." "That's not what I'm showing them," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm showing them that life isn't about handouts. If they want something, they need to earn it. Like their mom and dad should." Boom. Mic drop. Or so I thought. Now, I've got an entire family, none of whom share my last name, treating me like I'm the villain in their soap opera. And you know what? I'm starting to feel like they're gold diggers, plain and simple. My girlfriend's kids want luxury cars, her ex wants me to bankroll his children, and her family thinks I'm Scrooge McDuck for not playing along. But let me rewind a bit to give you some more context about how we got here. My daughter's been saving her allowance and babysitting money since she was 13. She's always been responsible, and when she asked me for a car, it wasn't out of entitlement but necessity. She's got her part-time job lined up, and her school is a solid 20-minute drive away. A car wasn't just a want, it was a practical need. Contrast that with my girlfriend's son, who spends most of his time gaming and hasn't even passed his driver's test, and her daughter, whose idea of work is posting TikToks with captions like, "Manifesting my dream truck." It's not like I haven't done anything for her kids. I've helped with school supplies, paid for family dinners, and even covered a summer camp last year when their dad flaked on his share. But cars? That's a whole new level. And yet, no one seems to remember any of that. To make matters worse, my girlfriend's sister, who I've spoken to maybe 5 times in my life, decided to call me out during a family barbecue last weekend. "So, you're really going to play favorites, huh?" she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm not playing favorites. I'm being a parent to my child. If you think I'm wrong, feel free to buy them the cars they want." You could have heard a pin drop. Of course, the family's collective outrage didn't end there. Now, I'm the topic of every group chat and family gathering. My girlfriend keeps giving me the silent treatment, her kids won't look me in the eye, and her ex has taken to bad-mouthing me on social media. Meanwhile, my daughter's just sitting there with her spreadsheet of used cars, trying to make her budget work. She doesn't understand why everyone's so mad, and frankly, neither do I. So here's where I'll leave it for now. I'm standing firm, But this storm doesn't seem to be passing anytime soon. What would you do in my shoes? Stick to your guns or try to smooth things over? And do you think I'm wrong for treating my daughter differently? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for part 2 because this saga is far from over. Subscribe to the channel for more stories. Part 2, The Fallout and the Ultimatum. If I thought the situation couldn't get worse, I was dead wrong. After weeks of icy silences, passive-aggressive comments, and an all-out blitz on my patience, my girlfriend decided we needed to have a serious talk. It was the kind of tone that makes you feel like you're walking into a performance review, not a conversation with someone you're supposed to care about. "Look," she said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table like we were adversaries in a courtroom drama. "I get that you love your daughter. But when you date someone with kids, you take on a certain level of responsibility for them too." "I do take responsibility," I replied. "But I'm not their dad, and I never signed up to be. They have a dad, one who, last I checked, hasn't chipped in for anything but still feels entitled to tell me how to spend my money." "That's not the point," she said, her voice rising. "The point is, you're showing them that they'll always come second to your daughter." I rubbed my temples, trying to keep my cool. "No, I'm showing them that I have boundaries. And maybe, just maybe, their expectations are completely out of touch with reality. A BMW? A brand new truck? Come on. You know that's ridiculous." She crossed her arms and leaned back, a scowl etched across her face. "It's not about the cars. It's about how they feel. You're making them feel less important." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I'm sorry, but feelings don't buy cars. I've been more than generous with your kids. But my daughter and I had a plan, a realistic plan, and I'm sticking to it. If their dad or anyone else in your family wants to buy them luxury cars, they're more than welcome to. But I'm not a bank." At that, she stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "If you can't see how this is affecting us, then maybe we need to reevaluate this relationship." And there it was, the ultimatum I'd been dreading but half expecting. I stayed silent for a moment, letting the weight of her words sink in. "So, let me get this straight," I finally said. "You're willing to throw away 2.5 years because I won't bankrupt myself to buy your kids things they don't need?" Her lips tightened into a thin line. "It's not about the money. It's about priorities." "Exactly," I said, standing up to meet her gaze. "And my priority is my daughter. Always has been, always will be. If that's a problem, then maybe you're right, we do need to reevaluate." She stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. I sat down, staring at the now cold coffee in my mug, wondering how we'd gotten to this point. The aftermath. The next few days were tense, to say the least. My girlfriend barely spoke to me, and when she did, it was clipped and full of resentment. Her kids avoided me altogether, except for the occasional glare from her son, who apparently still believed he had a shot at that BMW if he guilt-tripped me hard enough. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was her ex. Again. "I don't know what kind of man you are," he began, his voice dripping with contempt, "but real men take care of all the kids in their life, not just their own." "Real men?" I shot back, unable to hold back a bitter laugh. "Real men don't expect their ex's boyfriend to do their job for them. If you want your kids to have those cars, step up and get them yourself." He hung up on me after that, and I haven't heard from him since. Not that I'm complaining. Meanwhile, my daughter finally picked out a reliable used Honda Civic. It wasn't flashy, but it was hers, bought with her hard-earned savings and a little help from me. When we drove it home, she was beaming with pride, her hands gripping the steering wheel like she'd just won the lottery. But the victory felt bittersweet. My girlfriend didn't even come outside to see it, and her kids barely glanced at it before going back to their rooms. It was clear that this wasn't just a battle over cars anymore, it was a battle over values, priorities, and the very foundation of our relationship. The breaking point. Last night, we hit the breaking point. My girlfriend cornered me in the living room, her arms crossed and her face set in a grim expression. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "You're never going to treat my kids the way they deserve to be treated." "I treat them fairly," I replied. "But I'm not their dad, and I'm not going to go broke trying to be. If that's not enough for you, then maybe we're not meant to be." She didn't respond, just turned and walked out of the room. An hour later, I heard her packing her things. This morning, she and her kids left. She didn't say goodbye, and I didn't try to stop her. As much as it hurt, I knew deep down that this was the right decision. My daughter deserved a parent who would always put her first, and I wasn't about to compromise that for anyone. Moving forward. Now it's just me and my daughter, and while the house feels quieter, it also feels lighter. She's thrilled with her car and has already started planning her next steps, college, work, and everything in between. As for me, I'm done trying to please people who don't appreciate what I bring to the table. My daughter is my world, and if someone can't understand that, they don't belong in my life. Would I have done anything differently? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I can look my daughter in the eye and know I've done right by her. And that's all that matters.